Womanjika everyone, Womanjika meaning welcome. My name is Auntie Julianne and I'm an out of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, and in recognition of doing my welcome to country, I'd like to pay my respects to my elders past, present, future and any elders that were here today, and I would also like to welcome you all here today. The Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung tribe consists of 3 families, the Nevins, the Terricks and the Wandins, and I'm part of the Nevin family. The 3 families all descend from one woman called Annie Bharat, which makes us one big family. Annie Bharat is the youngest sister of William Bharat, a pioneer for Aboriginal people in the 19th century, fighting for equality and land rights. I'm here today to welcome you all to the land of my ancestors. We call the land within our tribal boundaries our country. The Kulin Nation, Kulin meaning man, is made up of 5 groups. They are the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung, Boonwurrung, Tanarong, Wathaurong and Dja Dja. And to give you an outline of the Wurundjeri country and the area we cover. Wurundjeri country extends from north to the Great Dividing Range, east to Mount Baw Baw, south to the Mooloolik Creek and west to the Werribee River. We cover a diverse range of land from the mountains to the beach and everything in between. Many thousands of years ago, if an Aboriginal person from another tribe wanted to cross our boundary, they would have to sit at the boundary and wait for the Narragadah, which is the headman, or an elder to come past to give permission to cross. Traditional Aboriginal culture was highly territorial, and visitors risked a violent reprisal for crossing a tribal or clan boundary without this permission, and this is how a welcome to country originated in our culture. Traditionally, being welcomed onto country meant you respected Bunjal's law. Bunjil the wedge-tailed eagle is our creator, and Wah the crow is our protector. And as long as you looked after the country, you had access to our waterways and our land resources. And when you enter our country, we ask that you respect our resources, our fauna, flora and water, as they are very special to us. And when you are ready to leave, we ask that you leave it the way you found it.
We have lots of council services that support our community. We support families with children, including health services for children and mums, vaccinations, playgroups, childcare, and kinder. We support young people in our community. Through events and activities, we have services that can support people with disability, older people, and carers and family of people with disability and older people. Our libraries support everyone in our community, help people learn new things, and are free to join. We support our community to have fun and be active through events and activities, sport, and recreation areas. We help look after our places and spaces, the environment, and local businesses. We have laws to keep people safe, to make sure buildings are safe, to make sure roads and footpaths are safe, to make sure our places and spaces are safe. We make sure everyone follows the law to keep our community safe and happy. Moonee Valley. It's a great place to live, work, and visit.
Woman Jika, everyone. Woman Jika meaning welcome. My name is Auntie Julianne, and I'm an out of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people. And in recognition of doing my welcome to country, I'd like to pay my respects to my elders, past, present, future, and any elders that were here today. And I would also like to welcome you all here today. The Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung tribe consists of 3 families, the Nevins, the Terricks, and the Wandans, and I'm part of the Nevin family. The 3 families all descend from one woman called Annie Barratt, which makes us one big family. Annie Barratt is the youngest sister of William Barratt, a pioneer for Aboriginal people in the 19th century, fighting for equality and land rights. I'm here today to welcome you all to the land of my ancestors. We call the land within our tribal boundaries our country. The Kulin Nation, Kulin meaning man, is made up of 5 groups. They are the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung, Boonwurrung, Tanarong, Wathaurong and Dja Dja Wurrung. And to give you an outline of the Wurundjeri country and the area we cover. Wurundjeri country extends from north to the Great Dividing Range, east to Mount Baw Baw, south to the Moolally Creek and west to the Werribee River. We cover a diverse range of land from the mountains to the beach and everything in between. Many thousands of years ago, if an Aboriginal person from another tribe wanted to cross our boundary, They would have to sit at the boundary and wait for the Narragadah, which is the headman, or an elder to come past to give permission to cross. Traditional Aboriginal culture was highly territorial, and visitors risked a violent reprisal for crossing a tribal or clan boundary without this permission, and this is how a welcome to country originated in our culture. Traditionally, being welcomed onto country meant you respected Bunjil's law. Bunjil, the wedge-tailed eagle, is our creator, and Wah the crow is our protector. And as long as you looked after the country, you had access to our waterways and our land resources. And when you enter our country, we ask that you respect our resources, our fauna, flora and water, as they are very special to us. And when you are ready to leave, we ask that you leave it the way you found it.
We have lots of council services that support our community. We support families with children, including health services for children and mums, vaccinations, playgroups, childcare, and kinder. We support young people in our community. Through events and activities, we have services that can support people with disability, older people, and carers and family of people with disability and older people. Our libraries support everyone in our community, help people learn new things, and are free to join. We support our community to have fun and be active through events and activities, sport, and recreation areas. We help look after our places and spaces, the environment, and local businesses. We have laws to keep people safe, to make sure buildings are safe, to make sure roads and footpaths are safe, to make sure our places and spaces are safe. We make sure everyone follows the law to keep our community safe and happy. Moonee Valley. It's a great place to live, work, and visit.
Woman Jika, everyone. Woman Jika meaning welcome. My name is Auntie Julianne, and I'm an out of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people. And in recognition of doing my welcome to country, I'd like to pay my respects to my elders, past, present, future, and any elders that were here today. And I would also like to welcome you all here today. The Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung tribe consists of 3 families, the Nevins, the Terricks, and the Wandins, and I'm part of the Nevin family. The 3 families all descend from one woman called Annie Barratt, which makes us one big family. Annie Barratt is the youngest sister of William Barratt, a pioneer for Aboriginal people in the 19th century, fighting for equality and land rights. I'm here today to welcome you all to the land of my ancestors. We call the land within our tribal boundaries our country. The Kulin Nation, Kulin meaning man, is made up of 5 groups. They are the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung, Boonwurrung, Tanarong, Wathaurong and Dja Dja Wurrung. And to give you an outline of the Wurundjeri country and the area we cover. Wurundjeri country extends from north to the Great Dividing Range, east to Mount Baw Baw, south to the Moretti Creek and west to the Werribee River. We cover a diverse range of land from the mountains to the beach and everything in between. Many thousands of years ago, if an Aboriginal person from another tribe wanted to cross our boundary, they would have to sit at the boundary and wait for the Narragadah, which is the headman, or an elder to come past to give permission to cross. Traditional Aboriginal culture was highly territorial, and visitors risked a violent reprisal for crossing a tribal or clan boundary without this permission, and this is how a welcome to country originated in our culture. Traditionally, being welcomed onto country meant you respected Bunjil's law. Bunjil, the wedge-tailed eagle, is our creator, and Wah the Crow is our protector. And as long as you looked after the country, you had access to our waterways and our land resources. And when you enter our country, we ask that you respect our resources, our fauna, flora and water, as they are very special to us. And when you are ready to leave, we ask that you leave it the way you found it.
Welcome everyone to the Council meeting on the 28th of October 2025, which I now declare open at 6:31 p.m. I'd like to warmly welcome members of the public who have joined us tonight, as well as those watching online. As well as being live streamed, the video recording of this meeting will also be available on our website. So attendees in the gallery are advised that your presence may be recorded. I also ask that mobile phones be switched to silent mode during the meeting. A reminder as well to the public in the gallery that as per Governance Rule 75.1, personal video and audio recordings are not allowed. On behalf of Moonee Valley City Council, I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which Moonee Valley is located, the Wurundjeri Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their spirits, ancestors, community members and elders past, present and emerging. We also extend this respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. We now move to item 2 on the agenda, apologies and leave of absence. As all councillors are in attendance, I don't believe there are any apologies or leave of absence. We now move to item 3 on the agenda, confirmation of minutes. Councillors, can I please have a mover and a seconder that the minutes from the council meeting held on Tuesday, the 23rd of September 2025 be confirmed? Moved Councillor Phil Byrne, seconded Councillor Cosgriff. Councillor Byrne, would you like to speak to the motion? Councillor Cosgriff, would you like to speak to the motion? Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. The next item on the agenda is foreshadowing of conflicts of interest. Does any councillor wish to flag a conflict of interest in any item on the agenda this evening? No, thank you. The next item on the agenda is presentations. Councillors, I have 2 presentations tonight and then I will open the floor. Councillors, my mayor term concludes this Thursday evening when a new mayor will be elected. And so this is the last council meeting I will chair as mayor. I'd like to take a few moments to say a few words. Firstly, a huge thank you to our community. I'm filled with so much gratitude, pride and deep affection for this remarkable community that I've had the honour to serve. When I first accepted this role, I promised to lead with integrity, fairness, transparency and good governance, and to do so collaboratively with my councillor colleagues. Looking back, I'm incredibly proud of what we have achieved together as a team of councillors, working with our CEO, executive team and dedicated staff, all guided by our shared vision for a thriving, connected and inclusive Moonee Valley. Together, we've shaped the future of our city through the development of our MV 2040 refresh, our new council plan, annual plan, asset plan and financial plan, which are all on tonight's agenda to adopt. These are live commitments to our residents, built on more than 2,000 pieces of community feedback. They ensure that while we continue delivering essential services today, we also have one eye firmly on a prosperous and sustainable future. This year, we've seen tangible results right across Moonee Valley, which are a culmination of years of work. The new Montgomery Park Kindergarten has tripled the number of early years places in that neighbourhood. The much-loved Ascot Vale Library reopened with a revitalised space for learning, connection and creativity. We celebrated the completion of the eco-friendly Clifton Park Pavilion with solar power, stormwater tanks and new public amenities. And we also officially opened the Essendon Rowing Club female-friendly change rooms and lift renovation. Through major investment in our local roads, drainage and shared paths, we've kept our city safe, accessible and welcoming. Creativity has continued to thrive in Moonee Valley too. Our Incinerator Gallery's Playground Project Melbourne exhibition has been a record-breaking success, drawing thousands of visitors to Moonee Valley. And in the spirit of creativity, we recently announced the Queen's Park Playground Design Competition, creating a space that reflects both expert creativity and what our community truly wants to see. We also enjoyed some big advocacy wins, like the state government funding commitments to upgrade the Essendon and Essendon North junctions, as well as planned upgrades to the 59 tram line with the arrival of the G-class trams next year. We also secured a new Headspace centre in Moonee Ponds with thanks to the federal government, providing early intervention services for youth mental health, which is expected to open in 2027. Throughout this year, I've been privileged to meet so many wonderful residents, from volunteers, business owners and community group members, to students, teachers and emergency service workers, each playing their part in making Moonee Valley a more connected, caring and vibrant city. I've seen firsthand the strength of our community spirit, and it's forever heartwarming. It's this sense of togetherness that makes Moonee Valley not just a great place to live, but a place to belong. To Deputy Mayor Fran Cosgrove and my fellow councillors, thank you. Your dedication, ideas and collaboration have been the driving force behind every success we've celebrated. It has been an absolute honour to lead alongside you. We have faced challenges, made tough decisions and shared many proud moments, always united by our commitment to the people we serve. To our CEO, Helen Swee, and every member of our executive and staff team, your professionalism, hard work and passion for this city have inspired me every day. Thank you for your service to our community. And to Sharon and Uyen in our Councillor Support Office, and Bailey, I can see you sitting there too, thank you for everything you do for each of us. Your teamwork and dedication is really appreciated. To my family and friends, especially my mum and dad, Nassif and Yola, thank you for being my foundation. I wouldn't have been able to do this without your unwavering support at home. To my children, Jack, Emma and Edward, thank you for sharing me with this community. Your patience, love and support mean the world. I hope I've shown you that leadership is about kindness, service, compassion and making a difference. Serving as Mayor of Moonee Valley has been the greatest privilege. This city, my home and my community, has given me and my family so much, and I will always be proud to have given something back. Looking forward, I know we still face challenges, but I look forward to continuing to work together so that Moonee Valley can be the best place to live, work and play. Thank you. Thanks everyone. Now my second presentation is that the Municipal Association of Victoria, MAV, recently recognised the dedication of long-serving councillors with the Councillor Service Awards. Congratulations were extended to Councillor John Sypek for 20 years of service. On behalf of Moonee Valley City Council, I want to convey my sincerest congratulations to you on being honoured for your contribution. Council recognises and values Councillor John Sypek's commitment to Council and the community. Council appreciates your dedication, experience and local representation. Thank you, Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillors, do we have any other presentations? Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to mention that on Saturday I actually attended the Cox Plate. It was the very last one until we get to our new grandstand. So a bit of history is going to be lost. The straight's going to be changed. There's going to be quite a lot of changes there, and I think it'll be a great improvement with the new grandstand being built there, the track being realigned, and I look forward to the Cox Plate returning to Moonee Valley.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Any other presentations, councillors? Councillor Samantha Burnwell, you were next. Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to do a presentation on Shocktober. Shocktober. The Clock Tower Centre joined forces with Ambulance Victoria to mark the beginning of Shocktober, a month-long campaign dedicated to raising awareness about cardiac arrest and life-saving importance of CPR and AED use. The initiative kicked off with a collaborative social media post and internal promotions, encouraging staff and community members to learn vital first aid skills and consider becoming designated first aiders. I know quite a few of us around this table were able to join in on some of the sessions, and it was very informative and well run. A special thank you to Moonee Valley residents, Katie Cornelius and Jess McGowan, who have obviously given so much to the community over the time and were fabulous on the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other presentations, councillors? Another one, Samantha Byrne.
That was my fault because I turned off the microphone, but
That's okay.
Yes,
Please
I would
continue.
also like to do a quick presentation on the Nidri Halloween event that was run on the weekend. Councillor Theocrides and I made our way to their special event. It is really good when the Traders Association puts on local activations. It was fabulous to see so many kids dressed up, and not all kids, adults also, as Councillor Theocrides, you can see on her socials, got behind the event. It was really a fabulous event and activated our wonderful shopping strip in Nidri. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Samantha Byrne. Any other presentations, councillors? Councillor Cosgrove?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, I wanted to present on the Melbourne International Jazz Festival event that we had 2 Sundays ago in Moonee Valley, where there was 6 of our local businesses partnered with Moonee Valley Council and the Jazz Festival, and held free events. And it was a really great turnout despite it being a really, really blustery day. So thank you to the Echo Dev team for their work, and to every venue that got involved, because it's really lovely to have arts alive in Moonee Valley.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Any other presentations? Councillor Theocrides.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to mention a couple of presentations. So one is the Dance for Seniors with the Australian Ballet. The Clock Tower Centre also hosted Dance for Seniors sessions in partnership with the Australian Ballet, which offered older adults a graceful and engaging way to stay active and connected. These sessions were part of a broader initiative to promote wellbeing and inclusion through the arts. And the second presentation was just recently during National Carers Week, and being the 12th of October until the 18th of October. Moonee Valley City Council honoured its unpaid carers, about 15% of the local population, with events, awareness campaigns and a symbolic lighting of the Clock Tower Centre in Carers Victoria's colours. Activities included wellbeing sessions, a mental health forum and a Carer Aware webinar, all promoted across council channels to encourage community support and recognition.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other presentations? Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to talk about the Seniors Festival, which is Council's flagship event during Seniors Month. It was held on the 14th of October. The highlights of the event included media icons Peter Hitchener and Alan Raskell, both of whom were mobbed for selfies by many of the audience there, and they were very gracious in lining up and posing for all the photos that were requested. There was also, it was a celebration of ageing. There were pampering stations, a photo booth, and one of my favourites, the CWA catered refreshments. I love a good scone with jam and cream. The community response was overwhelmingly positive, and the connection fostered during the event was obvious to everyone that was there.
It was a lovely event. Thanks, Councillor Jones. Any other presentations? Councillor Isa?
Thanks, Mayor. Just quickly, I'd like to thank the Flemington Traders Association for the terrific festival on Saturday the 11th of October. It's the annual Multicultural Festival. It was a huge turnout again this year, and terrific entertainment and food, and lots of traders getting involved. So look forward to that festival continuing in the future, and it is put on with a grant from council. So it's I guess council's support of the event, I know, is greatly appreciated by the traders. I also just wanted to mention quickly a community meeting that was held on last Saturday in Kensington regarding the Community Health Centre, CoHealth, and the announced changes, particularly to GP services, pharmacy services and counselling services at Kensington, Fitzroy and Collingwood CoHealth. These changes impact residents in my ward, Murnong Ward in Flemington, and there were a number of residents in attendance on Saturday. Those of us who were there heard some very distressing stories from people who are very concerned about the loss of the GP and counselling services, and a motion was passed by all present calling for CoHealth to reconsider its decision, for there to be a review of CoHealth's funding, and for a real revival of the community health funding and resources and sector to really ensure that community health in Victoria can adequately serve the complex needs of the community that it's designed to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Any other presentations, councillors? No? Okay, so the following item on the agenda is petitions and joint letters. Councillors, do we have any petitions or joint letters this evening? Councillor Philburn.
Thank you, Mayor. A petition has been received by 42 local residents requesting that Moonee Valley City Council replace the Melia Azadrach Chinaberry Street trees located between Rothwell Street and the Crescent. The residents request that Council consider replanting with a more suitable species for the narrow nature strips in this area. The petition raises concerns regarding the tree's suitability, citing issues such as potential toxicity of berries, slipping hazards from fallen fruit, sticky residue from flowers, root damage to footpaths and fences, and the cost of repeated footpath repairs. The petition also notes that the Melia Azadrach, I think, is a non-native species, considered environmental weed in some areas, and may be nearing the end of its typical lifespan. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. In accordance with Governance Rule 62.5, I refer the petition to the CEO for consideration. Councillors, do we have any other petitions or joint letters? If not, we have now come to public question time, and we have received 3 questions this evening. The first question is from Tommy Ledoux, who I don't think is joining us this evening. So I will read Tommy's pre-submitted question. His question reads, the roundabouts at Mount Alexander Road with Napier and with Keilor Road are well known in the community for being dangerous. Back in 2023, the State Labor Government and Council announced funding, and Council even stated the Essendon North roundabout will undergo a long-awaited upgrade, with the Victorian Government announcing $6.5 million in funding to start planning and design. Yet here we are with the money only scheduled in the 25-26 state budget. Why has this funding been delayed for 2 years? Can Council confirm whether the funding set aside will be enough to properly address all of the safety issues at these intersections, or is the community being asked to wait even longer for a genuine fix? Thank you, Tommy. I refer to the CEO, Helen Sweeth, to respond.
Thank you, Tommy, for your question. Through the Mayor, the Victorian Government has committed the planning and designing funds for the upgrade of the Eastern North intersection. However, to our knowledge, no construction funding has been committed to date. Improvements to the Eastern North intersection. Furthermore, Council has also been working with another state agency, being Major Road Projects Victoria, in brackets MRPV, to plan and design longer-term improvements to this intersection. MRPV has recently completed the community engagement phase, which will inform future government funding and delivery decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. The next 2 questions are from Peter Robinson, who is not joining us this evening. So on behalf of Peter, his first question reads, How much funding has the MVCC set aside at the moment for the proposed highball stadium? Thank you, Peter. I will refer to the CEO, Helen Swee, to respond.
Thank you, Peter, for your question. Through the Mayor, Council is continuing to work with other levels of government and other potential partners to find ways of delivering an indoor sports facility in Moonee Valley in response to community expectations and need. Given the high capital costs expected, we are endeavoring to secure the necessary external funding and partnerships to deliver the project. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. The next question from Peter reads, cycling on busy roads is very dangerous. Why is the MVCC promoting such an activity? I refer to the CEO, Helen Swee, to respond.
Thank you again, Peter, for your question. Through the Mayor, safety on our roads is everyone's responsibility. In 2024-25 year, Council invested $7.2 million in roads and path-related initiatives across our network to improve the experience for drivers, riders, and workers alike. Council is proud to promote and encourage active transport in brackets walking, scooting, and cycling across the municipality, as there are numerous benefits to increased walking and cycling. Key health bodies, Vic Health and the Cancer Council, note that a community that regularly walks and cycles is healthier, more socially cohesive, and environmentally friendly. As the city's population grows, we can expect increased strain on existing infrastructure. Increased participation in active transport, therefore, eases pressures on roads, traffic and parking congestion by moving single passenger short trips from the street to the path network. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. The next item on the agenda is reports from delegates. Councillors, do we have any reports as delegates? Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd just like to report back on the Municipal Association of Victoria's State Council, which was held on Friday the 10th of October. State Council meets twice a year and all delegates meet to vote on a range of motions that are put forward from the 79 councils across Victoria. As always, the motions cover a vast array of issues. They're submitted by councils that have very different experiences and needs to Moonee Valley, and some obviously that are more relevant to Moonee Valley. So it's always interesting to see the range of different issues that are put forward, and some vigorous debating goes on amongst the councillors. This year, this State Council, there were motions about affordable housing, about tree canopy targets and planning, about renewable energy in rural areas, about dealing with some of the cost shifting around maternal and child health programs. A whole range of different issues were raised, and the Municipal Association of Victoria works hard to try to advocate on all of those issues to the state government. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Do any other councillors wish to report back? If not, we now move on to item 9, reports. The first report is item 9.1, adoption of the MV 2040 refresh, Council Plan 2025 to 29 and Annual Plan 25-26, Asset Plan 2025 to 35 and Financial Plan 2025 to 35. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Philburn.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation subject to an amendment.
Yep, thank you, Councillor Philburn. Would you like to read the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. That Council resolves to A, adopt MV 2040 Community Vision and Strategy, updated 2025, Attachment 1, with changes to align with those outlined at B below. And 2, Roman numerals paragraph 1 to 3 to be taken as read. Roman numerals paragraph 4, note that the delivery of relevant actions from the above plans will be progressed operationally. And paragraph 5, note that the document is to be reviewed and updated in 2029. Paragraph B, adopt the Council Plan 2025-29, incorporating the Municipal Public Health Plan and the Disability Action Plan at Attachment 2. And paragraph Roman numeral 1 to be taken as read. Paragraph 2, amend the community vision statement by deleting the sentence which reads, acknowledging the climate emergency, we value environmental sustainability and embrace our green open spaces, and replacing it with, our city is climate safe and pollution free. We use renewable energy and clean transport. We recycle and repurpose and enjoy shaded streets and a healthy environment. Paragraph 3, amend the connected Burbang theme by making the following changes. Para A, reword strategic objective 10 to read, a city that uses mostly low emission and reliable transport. Paragraph B, reword the outcome at 10 to read, community members make more than half of their trips using active or low emissions public transport by 2030. Paragraph C, reword the indicator at 10 to read, increased use of sustainable transport options. Paragraph Roman numeral 4, amend the green One Warren theme by making the following changes. Paragraph A, reword strategic objective 13 to read, a city that is zero carbon. Paragraph B, reword outcome 13 to read, community members have reduced emissions to 67 to 70% below 2018 levels by 2030 to meet our target of achieving zero net emissions for our community and reducing emissions from council's operations by 95% by 2040. Increased uptake of rooftop solar to at least 40% by 2030. Paragraph C, at indicator 13, delete reduced community vulnerability to heat and flooding. Paragraph D, introduce a new strategic objective, brackets, and renumber to 14, close brackets, which reads, a city that is climate safe. Paragraph E, introduce a new outcome at renumbered 14, which reads, community members live in a climate safe municipality with reduced risk. Paragraph F, introduce a new indicator at renumbered 14, which reads, reduced community vulnerability to heat and flooding. Paragraph G, renumber strategic objective 14 to 15 and reword to read, a city that has increased biodiversity, shade and is water sensitive. Paragraph H, renumber outcome 14 to 15 and reword to read, community members care for country and enjoy shady places, healthy waterways and diverse flora and fauna, and council's target of 25% tree canopy by 2030 is met to support council's target of 30% canopy cover by 2040. Paragraph I, renumber outcome 15 to 16 and reword to read, community members actively recycle, repurpose and take action to reduce waste and pollution to meet council's target of diverting 90% of household waste and waste from council operations from landfill to recycling and reuse by 2040. Paragraph J, renumber indicator 15 to 16 and reword to read, increased percentage of waste diverted from landfill. Paragraph K, at strategy 13.2, remove the words including targets for solar uptake. Paragraph I, Immediately following the strategy, 14.2 row, add an additional strategy to be delivered by financial year 2027-2028. The strategy is to set a target and develop a strategy to increase permeable surfaces across the municipality to reduce urban heat and better manage stormwater. Paragraph M, renumber all strategies immediately following strategy 14.2, strategic objectives 16 and onwards, and all outcomes following new outcome 16. Paragraph Roman numeral 5, note that the targets referred to in this resolution are aspirational and reflect Council's commitment to reduce emissions and waste and to plan for climate risk. Paragraph C, adopts the annual plan 2025-2026, brackets attachment 3, with the following changes. Paragraph Roman numeral paragraph 1, add any required changes to align with the changes outlined at B above. Paragraph 2, add a Year 1 initiative 13.2.3 to read, commence work on a methodology and plan to implement an exemption from planning permit requirements for visible solar energy systems in the heritage overlay to facilitate greater provision of on-site renewable energy in heritage places where appropriate, with a report and recommendations to Council in Year 2. Paragraph 3, the following initiatives as per the published draft annual plan 2025-2026 to be notated as must be delivered subject to external and outside control factors that are not within officers' control. 3.1.1, 3.2.1, 3.3.1, 6.1.1, 8.1.1, 8.2.1, 8.3.2, 9.1.1, 9.3.1, 11.1.1, 13.2.2, 17.1.1, 19.4.1, 19.5.1, 20.2.1, 21.2.1, 23.2.1, and paragraphs D through to G to be taken as read. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. That was quite an amendment. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Philburn, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to extend my thanks and gratitude to all the Moonee Valley residents, community groups, clubs and businesses who took the time to review and comment on these strategic plans. Your input has been critical to ensure what we do here is based on community needs and that a sound framework is in place for council decision making. I also acknowledge the early work of the Community Advisory Panel and thank the work of colleagues and council officers to get us to this point. As outlined in the officer's report, delivering on the vast commitments of our current strategic plans has been challenging. Community needs have changed and service delivery and infrastructure costs have increased. In this environment, the highly prescriptive nature of our strategic plans has not allowed for the flexibility required to adapt to changing needs. I support the need for our updated plans to enable Council to have the agility to adapt as required. But what our existing strategic documents, like the Action Plan Green, what they do have is ambition and targets to drive action and report progress. As currently recommended, these plans are to be rescinded to enable Council to rework its approach to the challenge mentioned earlier. The amendments to the Council Plan, which relate to climate, environment and sustainability matters, seek to retain this ambition within the Council Plan while providing the flexibility around actions to focus efforts and measure progress. Delivering on the council plan requires council to undertake efforts on behalf of our community and future community. We do our bit along with our community, our businesses and our other levels of government. We do this work as advocate, connector, funder, monitor, partner, provider, regulator and responder, and sometimes we can be leaders. The meaty part of the amendment seeks to retain higher order targets that previous councils have put in place. And these targets have already shaped some of the significant work that Moonee Valley has done in response to climate change and to make our municipality more sustainable. The remaining changes respond to community submissions and enhance clarity of the council plan. In revising our strategic documents, it's important that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that ambition remains as we develop and progress actions to reduce impacts of climate change on our community and improve our environment and amenity. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Filburn. Councillor Cosgrove, would you like to speak to the motion?
It's a big suite of documents that we're passing all together, and I guess I just wanted to thank all of the work from officers, everyone around the table. We've put quite a number of hours in as a group to make sure that we're each bringing what we were elected to do, bringing the values and the ambitions that the community have shared with us in as much as we can, given the kind of the constraints we have upon us. So thanks to colleagues, thanks to officers for an even more enormous amount of work, and really thanks to all the community, as Councillor Byrne said, because I know that when we first passed the draft, we were really keen to hear what would come back from people, and so everyone who took the time to provide feedback, thank you. We've looked over it and very much appreciated it. That process of community consultation first started in March last year, I believe, so it's been a long one, and happy to support the officer's recommendation with the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? Councillor Theocrides.
Thank you, Mayor. I welcome the amendments that Councillor Phil has taken such a long time to put together, and so much of an effort has gone to it. But I also recognise the officer's recommendation and the amount of work that's gone into that as well. I think that Councillor Phil's amendment is an add-on that adds value from our community perspective. A couple in particular, in the connected Burbang section, outcome 10, where Councillor Phil has made the amendment with a specific SMART goal that's consistent with the advice from the Climate Change Authority to make for that communities make more than half of their trips using active or low emissions public transport by 2030. Not only is it a SMART goal and something that is more precise and something that is more likely to be achievable, but in Canning Ward itself, public transport and the use of it has been an issue that's been faced by the community for decades. And as someone who was born and bred in Avondale Heights, I remember the issues with public transport going back to when I was a teenager. So I'm really glad to see the slight amendment there, and the acknowledgement of public transport across the whole municipality. And just quickly, the new strategy, strategy 14.3, for years 2027 and 28, set a target and develop a strategy to increase permeable spaces to reduce urban heat and better manage stormwater. I've heard, across the municipality, but also in Canning Ward, issues that are coming up with stormwater, and obviously we've had council do a lot of work in that area as well. But in terms of urban heat as well, Canning Ward's one of the wards with the highest urban heat rating. And so it's great to see this as a new strategy that we're working towards.
Thank you, Councillor Theocrides.
Sorry,
sorry.
one more thing if
That's
I've got
okay.
some time.
Yeah, yes, you do.
And also just wanted to also make mention of point C, adopt the annual plan 25-26, the amendment that Councillor Phil has included, Roman numeral 3, the must be delivered initiatives. I just wanted to add some context around that this really came about with input.
Seconds.
Yep, with input from councillors around the table right now to represent the voices of the community and their priorities as we've heard directly from them. So I just wanted to mention that, that's where we've all included the community's voices as we've heard it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Theocrides. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mayor. When I received this report, I was actually quite impressed with the great work the officers have done. Obviously, they've spoken to the community, they've spoken to experts in the field, and this was something that I was very, very impressed with. So, firstly, I'd like to congratulate the CEO and the officers for doing such a great report, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. I also like to commend Councillor Byrne on some of his amendments, but I can't agree with all of them, and this is where I'm struggling. I'm sort of still 50-50 with this, so I'm more than happy to sit back and listen to what some of our other colleagues, and hopefully that might be, tip me over the line.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. This report reads very much like an omnibus report and an omnibus bill. Obviously, it includes a lot of information, a lot of different reports, a lot of different documents that we are moving en masse and en bloc, and it's something I've thought long and hard about, and it's something that I'm struggling to support in its entirety in its current way. I just wanted to start by appreciating the hard work that's gone in by so many people in the community over the last 18 months. As was mentioned, there's well over 2,000 community inputs, which is a massive effort there. I want to commend the work of officers in putting together all these documents. I will even commend the work of my colleague Councillor Byrne in putting together his amendments. I know a lot of work's gone into that. My issue, and look, I'm very supportive of the financial plan, the asset plan, the health and disability plan inclusions. There's a lot to like about what's been put in front of us, but my issue is not necessarily what's included in the document, it's how broad a lot of this stuff has become. I think that personally, I think a council plan should be a roadmap for delivery, not necessarily a manifesto for every social aspiration. I've got a lot to talk about, but I know I've only got 3 minutes, so I'm going to try and cover some key dot points. I think that council needs to remember that residents often expect, safe roads, clean streets, reliable waste, well-maintained parks, and responsive customer service. A lot of that is included in this document, but a lot of it also reads more like aspirational goals as opposed to delivery of an ongoing strategic plan. I think that there's blurred focus with too many themes and not enough priorities. I think there's risk that we're stretching ourselves too thin across a number of different accountability sectors, and there might be a struggle to deliver there. As I mentioned, I'm supportive generally of the financial and asset plans. I think they do underpin a strong foundation there. In some ways, I'm also supportive of the theme of trusted and adding that in, and I think that's a welcome situation for council. Thank you, Mayor. I will make sure I finish in that 25 seconds that I have left. There's a lot to like, there's a lot of good things, but overall it's just become too broad for me, and I don't think I'll be able to support this motion in its entirety this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. So there is a lot that we are passing tonight because it's these 5 big documents, and I'm not sure how many residents have been able to read all of them, but there is a lot there. And so I do agree that there's a lot of broad actions in there because, the documents are quite extensive and council's work is quite extensive. Council has a broad reach of services and actions. Our council plan, in fact, is not everything that we do. It's a small slice of the work of a 1,000-person workforce, a huge organisation with a $240 million budget. So, yes, there is breadth in this document, and yes, there's diversity of different themes and different actions because our residents are diverse and the priorities of our residents cover everything from footpaths to social cohesion to tree canopies to childcare and kindergartens. Council has a role to play in a lot of different parts of our residents' lives, and what these documents try to do is help articulate how we're going to direct our programs over the next 4 years, because it's not about just status quo forever. We're here around the table to make a difference to the organisation and to make a difference to the services that we provide, and we're here because we think there's some improvement that's needed, otherwise we wouldn't have stood for election. So we're here with the collective aspirations of our community to try to make this organisation deliver the best it can across a huge number of services. So, to that extent, I agree with Councillor Jones's comments that it is broad, but I don't see this as a problem. I see this as a documents that have tried to articulate.
Councillor Oz, you have 30 seconds.
That have tried to articulate the very many and varied things we do. Thanks, Councillor Phil, for all of your work inserting back into the document the targets that would otherwise have been lost. The targets are aspirational, but if we don't have those targets to work towards, we're not doing our bit in the shared responsibility of action on climate. We all need to be doing our bit there. And thanks to the submitters who responded, particularly Moonee Valley Sustainability.
Time is up, Councillor
Thank you.
Isa. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Phil Byrne, it would have taken me 6 months to do what you did, so fantastic, and you read it better than I would have done it. We sit here and we sort of debate, but not a lot, and it's respectful that we debate in a nice way. The things that I see when I was reading your report was more of a state and federal concern for myself. I think we get pushed a lot onto local council, and I think that we're overburdened as it is, and to add a bit more stuff in like this that I don't think state and federal put enough time into, but they're pushing it onto us. It just seems to waste a bit of time for our knowledge. I'd like to see us concentrate, like Councillor Hamish Jones said, on air rates, rubbish and roads and all the things their constituents would like, but unfortunately I won't be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Samantha Byrne.
Thanks, Mayor. I suppose I should. Fairly important report. I often struggle with reports like these because there's so much in it that I love, and then there's bits that I don't love, and then there's bits that I don't think go far enough. And it's that real balance about whether or not you throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that's where my head's at the moment, because what's been put together, you can see how much work that's been in there, and I know many councillors around the table have acknowledged the CEO and her team and the hard work that's gone into all of the documents. And there's I don't know, one night when you're bored, please sit down and have a read, because there's some wonderful things in there. But I think what I hear a lot from the community is people have they have different things that they want, but a lot of what I hear is they just want to get stuff done. They want to see stuff, and there's still so much planning going on, and I don't know whether this is ambitious enough, getting some of those big, or not even big, but just some of that infrastructure and some of that work's really done. And I think that's where I probably would have liked to have seen some changes. Thank you, Councillor Byrne, for the amendment. I think when I said to you on the phone today, it's interesting that I actually was somewhat in favour of the amendment. I don't mind the amendment, but I didn't know whether I was going to support the motion. And I think that's still where my head is at. So thanks for the debate around the table. Looking forward to the response, the right of reply. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. As everybody has now spoken, I will now revert to Councillor Phil Byrne for a right of reply.
Thanks very much, Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for the discussion on the amendment and plans. Just a couple of things in reply, and I just really want to sort of make a couple of things clear that it's obviously come through a very large community process, but in terms of what the amendment is putting up, it's essentially come from the last round of community engagement. And there's certainly nothing that's being taken away from what the community has put to us already. It's essentially being enhanced through the amendment. There was a lot of good discussion around the role of council, and there was also a lot of good points made around whose job's what and what level of government should focus on what element. And I think, as a general rule, there are always questions that we need to be asking ourselves with everything that we do. But nonetheless, we have the council plan takes up all of page 16 and 17 to talk about the breadth of council's role and the hats that we have to wear at different points in time. And really, it's about doing our bit. It's about who we partner with. Might not be spending the dough, and might be spending the time on the advocacy. And throughout the implementation...
Councillor Byrne, you have 30 seconds left.
Yeah. And and I think the other thing around our role is, let's not forget the Local Government Act and what it requires us to do around climate risk and future generations. And, if we're not ambitious, if we aim low, then we hit low. If we aim high, then we'll do a bit better. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Byrne. I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Phil Byrne, Councillor Cosgrove, Councillor Isa, Councillor Theocrides, Councillor Adams. All those against? Councillor Barnes, Councillor Samantha Byrne, Councillor Jones, Councillor Sypek. I declare that motion carried. The next report is item 9.2, adoption of the annual report 2024/25. In accordance with section 100 subsection 1 and section 18 subsection 1D of the Local Government Act 2020, as Mayor, I am proud to report on the implementation of the Council Plan by presenting the annual report for the 2024/25 financial year for adoption by Council. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Cosgrove.
Move the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jones. Councillor Cosgrove, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor. It's another big report, not as big as the last one, and I've heard it described as the driest report we produce, but it's actually, it's very important. It reports on everything that's in the previous documents that we just passed. So if you want to know how we're going on implementing the council plan and what tenders we've done and what anything about us, what our budgets are. It's all in there every year, which is, I mean, I make light of it, but it's obviously very important. That's the piece of transparency on what we're doing for you every year, how we're implementing those huge plans, and they are very big, and, you know, there's, as has been said, so much that we do. So very happy to support the officer's recommendation in adopting this, that reports on everything that the amazing council, officers, I should say, have done for Moonee Valley over the past 12 months.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Jones, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, thank you, Mayor. It is I wouldn't have called it the driest document we've ever read. I thought it was 259 pages of excitement going through everything that has been achieved over the last year. I have read every single one of those words on that 259 pages, and I don't think I'll be able to summarise that in 3 minutes. And I don't necessarily want to repeat all of it anyway, because a lot of that you've already mentioned tonight, Mayor. So I will leave it there, but I'm happy to support the officer recommendation and move that we adopt this.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? Councillor Samantha Byrne.
Thank you. Yes, I will, and I'll be supporting this motion, and I agree with Councillor Jones. I reckon it's a ripper. I think, so this is what we've done, and I feel like, yes, there's a lot of information. You scan through the bits that you've got. A lot of love, you know, you can pick and choose, but it's sort of, it highlights what we've done, I think, compared to the previous. It is quite different, in, obviously. But anyway, I do recommend another good read for anyone who wants to have a squeeze at what we've been up to. It's well done, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Samantha Byrne. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? Councillor Isa?
Yeah, look, I just wanted to point to some interesting figures on page 61, which of course I'm having trouble bringing up in front of me. So I'll just try and get there, while I also just mention that I was interested to see that the proportion of young people who feel they have opportunities to have a say on issues that matter to them in their community was significantly lower. And it caught my eye because of the presentation that we had last week by our youth committee, who really spoke about the loneliness and some other issues, but also about young people having a say. There was an explanation about that figure, that there was a bench line that was different, or a measurement that was different, but I just still thought that it was a really important thing that was just worth mentioning. And I'm almost at page 61 and my computer has crashed, so almost getting there. I also noticed that Travancore was spelt incorrectly. It's just a bit of a bugbear that Travancore has 2 A's rather than an E, but I'm sure that will be that'll be fixed. I'm so sorry, Mayor. Oh, here we go. Page 61 page 61 has some interesting figures with respect to our community satisfaction, and that evidences some of the things that we still need to work on. And I guess that this is, you know, it points to also the range of different issues that council is measured on. So it points to both roads, rates and rubbish, but also representation, planning, and the performance of council with respect to access for people with disabilities, community consultation and engagement, identification and protection of Wurundjeri Woiwurrung, services for seniors. So I think that pages 61 and 62 of our annual report help, in fact, to...
Councillor Isa, you've got 30 seconds.
Oh, thank you. Help to, I guess, to justify the, going back to the comments made earlier, justify the breadth of services that we try to deliver for our community, because our community is still telling us that we need to perform better in some of these particular services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. The next report is item 9.3, adoption of the revised financial management policy. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Isa.
Move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Would anybody like to second the motion? Councillor Jones. Councillor Isa, would you like to speak to the item?
The financial management policy has some really interesting figures in it for anyone who has wondered about things like how much council is allowed to borrow, what sort of ratios we should have for our various asset renewal and our liabilities, assets and liabilities, cash and liabilities. Anyone who's sat through the AICD course and been told which measures to look at and which ratios to look at, it's all right here on page 2 of our financial management policy in terms of the levels that we are saying we want to make sure we stick to as we deal with our very extensive and complex financial arrangements, whether they be the reserves that we've got, the external reserves, the internal reserves, the borrowings repayments, the asset renewal levels that we try to keep keep within the relevant area, range of risk. There is a really complex financial thinking that goes into the decision making of council, and this financial management policy helps to set the parameters and guide that really important thinking.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Councillor Jones, would you like to speak to the item?
Thank you, Mayor. As someone who's done an MBA and studied finance, I did nerd out a bit about the numbers as well and got excited about them. I must admit that council's investment strategies are slightly less risky than my own, but it's not my money, so that's okay. I'm happy to support that with other people's money. But yes, no, I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation here for the revised financial management policy.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. The next report is item 9.4, adoption of the Road Management Plan 2025 to 29. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Isa.
Move the officer's recommendation. Thanks, ma'am.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Isa, would you like to speak to the motion?
So I'm not sure when it was, but this went through the chamber and went out for consultation several meetings ago. And through that process, we did have some feedback from some residents, and thank you for that feedback. The feedback was varied. Some of the feedback was people who were glad to see that there are going to be more frequent and intense review cycles, so making sure that we're getting to problems and intervening with sort of an increased regularity there. I haven't quite expressed that properly, but hopefully my intent's clear. through the process of putting it out for consultation as well, we also checked in with a couple of the insurance and legal stakeholders, and from that feedback, some changes have been made around some areas that are now going to be designated high risk, which are around some aged care facilities and special school zones, which is great to see, and that's a really good pickup. Look, I know that when this went out for consultation and we had the debate around the chamber, there was considerable debate around the change to the 15 to 20 millimetre intervention level. Look, I'm still of the view that, and I think it was supported by a number of the people who obviously looked over the policy and gave us some feedback, still of the view that the increase in review and I'm sorry, I really haven't quite got the terminology there in front of me, but that increase is going to be of net benefit because more problems will be addressed sooner. And so in getting to those problems sooner, we're safeguarding our community against risk in a way that may mean that some matters of between 15 and 20 millimetres might not be attended to, but more problems over 20 mil will be attended to more quickly. And so that net benefit is where, on balance, officers are recommending, and the experts recommend that that's where we put the effort, and that's the best way of protecting people's safety. And I am supportive of that approach going forward. Of course, if there's some rethinking on that in the future, as I spoke to earlier, we're always continually trying to improve and get the best for our community. So if we come back to it at a later date because it does prove to be problematic, then that's certainly something that we can look at in the future if we need to. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isaac. Councillor Cosgrove, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously happy to support the officer's recommendation and to take the advice of the experts in this field. I was very grateful for the feedback we got that we could upgrade the areas around aged care homes and the special schools to be high use. And also just to say that I'm very glad that we're increasing the frequency of inspections and how quickly we action things, significantly quicker than we were previously actioning them. But that's not to say that people can't call up and let us know if they have a concern or they do see something, and we would encourage them to, and that all any concerns about levels and footpaths are all assessed on a case-by-case basis as well if there are, someone needs a safer spot. But on the whole, very happy to support the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mayor. When I read this report, I understand what the purpose of the report is, and I understand the net benefit of what Councillor Isaac was saying. I fully appreciate all that, but a trip hazard is a trip hazard. Whether it's 2 mils, whether it's 5 mils, whether it's 20 mils, it's a hazard. If someone trips and hurts themselves, it's a hazard, no matter which way you look at it. For me, I think if it's 10 mils and someone reports it and they trip on it, we should rectify it, we should fix it. We shouldn't go out there with a vernier and work out whether it's 10 mils or 5 mils, below the limit or above the limit. It's very simple. A trip hazard is a trip hazard. And I cannot support something that, we're going to be measuring with verniers and rulers to determine whether it's a trip hazard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak on this item? Councillor Theocrides.
Thank you, Mayor. As this report has come to council before, and I did raise my, I suppose, support of it. I won't repeat what I've already said in chamber. However, with the consultation that's gone out to the community, and once again, as my fellow colleagues have thanked those who responded, we do thank you all for your feedback. And as a couple of my colleagues have already mentioned, that it was based on that feedback that some changes have been made to ensure that all the footpaths abutting the aged care facilities and specialist school facilities are classified as high-use paths. So, as it's been said before, that means that they will be inspected more regularly, which is a great inclusion that came back from community, which is fantastic, and why community consultation is so important to us. But I just wanted to reiterate something that Councillor Cosgriff mentioned, and that's that the road management plan has provisions for council to assess requests on case-by-case basis, such as special needs or vulnerability of a resident. For example, a step in a footpath below intervention level in front of an elderly resident's house presenting a trip hazards risk, and other provisions that the management plan has to assess those kinds of requests on a case-by-case basis. So based on those provisions, I am happy to support the officer's recommendation. And as Councillor Cosgriff mentioned, if you are concerned because of, vulnerability of a residence or safety risks, please do still contact council to come out, because as we've both mentioned and officers have mentioned to us, that there are provisions for case-by-case scenarios. So just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Theocrides. Would any other council like to speak to the item? Councillor Samantha Byrne.
Thanks, Mayor, and I'll be quick. I didn't support it at the draft time and I won't be supporting it now. I think I raised most of my concerns last time, but whilst I acknowledge there is an effort to ensure that the overall outcome is improved footpaths, I cannot get my head over the fact that we are, from just a footpath point of view, we are increasing the basically the cracks in our footpaths, we're increasing the allowable amount. I hate it. I hate it, and I have really read through everything, and I've spoken to so many people in regards in the health space or in the age and disability space, and whilst there is we're going to have more inspections. My view is that if we needed to put more money in this to be able to increase the inspections whilst also keeping our the service level the same, we should have done that. We should have found the money as opposed to making our streets, in my opinion, worse off. Thanks, Mayor.
Would any other council like to speak to the item? Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to paint a quick picture. Not that I'm an artist, but I have an 80-year-old mother-in-law, and she tripped on the footpath and broke her leg, and she still doesn't walk at 100%. She's probably back to about 85%. So it hits hard with me, and I'm always looking for cracks and rises in footpaths, and a lot of people in my area tend to bring that up to me also. But to think that we're going to raise the height, like Councillor Samantha Byrne said, is a bit mind-boggling for myself as well. But when you see someone who's in their 80s trip, break their leg badly, and not be able to walk at 100% capacity still to this day is quite concerning. So I won't be supporting it either. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Would any other council like to speak on the item? Councillor Phil Byrne.
Thanks, Mayor. I support the officer's recommendation as it is. In a perfect world, and with a magic putting, or we could, obviously fund everything, and we could even put fall mats on the side of each footpath and sweep the streets every half hour if need be. But for me on this one, I'm going with the work that's been done with officers. It's gone out for engagement, and some of the concerns reflected around the table here were not strongly reflected in the engagement that was underway. So we're not in a perfect world. We don't have endless streams of money, and at some point you have to look at what the data is saying, how you manage risk, and here the data is saying that you manage that risk by looking more often and acting more quickly. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Philburn. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? If not, I'll ask Councillor Isa for a right of reply.
Thanks, Mayor. And look, firstly, it's obviously sad to hear of anyone being injured by slipping on a footpath. So, it's very sorry to hear that. The point of this change to the service level is to get to more cracks, so that there are fewer incidents like that where people are falling over cracks. Increasing the service level will increase the quality of our footpaths. I know it's a tricky thing to sort of get for that equation to land, but that's why this is around promoting a net benefit, because we're fixing more by getting to them more quickly. I do note also that on page 30 there's a really interesting point made that it says it's been indicated that there's no relationship between step defect heights on footpaths and the likelihood of experiencing a trip or fall. This is because things like lighting, leaves, gradient, so many other factors come into whether someone actually trips and falls. It's actually not just the height of the crack that is the determinant about whether someone is going to fall over. So there are a range of different things, as Councillor Burns said, that we also need to be looking at, whether it's street sweeping, making sure pram ramps and gutter lips and all of the other elements to the footpaths are also supportive of mobility.
Councillor Riser, you have 30 seconds.
There's also a really interesting point in the consultation report on page 12 that says that many respondents highlighted the importance of accessibility for wheelchair users, people with mobility aids, and so that we do need to have a really broad lens across our footpath quality, that it's not just about whether a crack is 15 or 20 millimetres. It's much, much broader than that.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's Councillor Philburn, Councillor Cosgrove, Councillor Isa, Councillor Theocharides, Councillor Adams. All those against? Councillor Barnes, Councillor Samantha Byrne, Councillor Jones, Councillor Sypek. I declare that motion carried. The next report is item 9.5, adoption of the Privacy and Health Information Security Policy. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Isa.
Move the officer's recommendation, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Isa. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Isa, would you like to speak to the motion?
Look, I've been speaking a lot tonight, and I might just leave it for others. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Isa. Councillor Cosgrove, would you like to speak to the item?
I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation. It's a document, we have a lot of sensitive data that we collect at council, and it's important that we have really robust policies to protect that data, and I'm happy that this does that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? No. I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. The next report is item 9.6, endorsement of the draft Child Safety and Wellbeing Policy for community consultation. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Would anybody like to second? Councillor Samantha Byrne. Councillor Jones, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, thank you, Mayor. I think this is a very important policy, and some of the highlights for me, I think it strengthens our compliance. And it's important that we have a strong focus on prevention, reporting and continuous improvement throughout the organisation. I think there's clear guidance there for staff, contractors, volunteers around obligations and everything that needs to be done. And I think it helps promote a safer Moonee Valley, and I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation and support this policy.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Samantha Byrne, would you like to speak to the item? Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Theocrides.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't sort of repeat what Councillor Jones has said or the importance of such a policy, but I do want to just reiterate how important it is for the community's consultation and the community's feedback on these sorts of policies that go out to the community. As Councillor Isa mentioned before, we don't tend to hear back from children and young people, and given this is a policy that affects the well-being of children and young people, I want to encourage parents to help their children, young people, or parents or special persons to encourage children or young people to provide input into the policy as well. We'd love to hear from all voices of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Theocrides. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Mayor. The training we had last week I found was invaluable. It was great to see the inside and outside of what goes on, and there's many more chapters to child safety that I didn't know about, so it's great to see how broad that is, and looking forward to getting some more training on it. So it was very good. So great policy.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? Councillor Phil Byrne.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, and just acknowledge the other comments that have been made around the table. I just wanted to just also mention that that Council's got an obligation under the Victorian Child Safe Standards to develop the policy, and those original child safe standards go all the way back to the outcomes of a number of inquiries into the shocking abuse and abuse of trust that unfortunately we've seen, and that's something that still is around today with some things that we're seeing across Australia in the childcare sector, and that's, I know, has been something that's been very distressing to the Moonee Valley community as well. I thank the officers for pulling this work together, and I look forward to the community feedback that comes back on that, and then ultimately how it's communicated and socialised within the organisation is critical as well. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Phil Byrne. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. The next report is item 9.7, endorsement of submission to the Victorian Parliamentary Inquiry into electricity supply for electric vehicles. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Phil Byrne.
Thanks, Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Phil Byrne. Would any other councillor like to second the motion? Councillor Isa? Councillor Phil Byrne, would you like to speak to the motion?
Only briefly, Mayor. This is a submission in response to an inquiry by the Victorian Legislative Council. Like many parliamentary inquiries, it's got a pretty specific focus, which is in an inquiry into the electricity supply for electric vehicles. It's not an inquiry as to what do people think of electric vehicles or those sorts of things. Quite specific terms of reference. I support the submission. I think it's a good submission in terms of how it responds to those terms of reference in a way that they're sort of, as I said, they're clunky terms of reference, and the submission responds quite well. I think it's good in the sense that it highlights the need for more fast public charging and outlines the work that we're doing there as well. And it also flags that there still is that need for home charging options for people, and a lot of people residents have reached out about that. It also notes the work that or the monitoring of other studies and trials that are taking place as well. And I just note that a lot of those trials are happening at the moment in neighbouring councils and nearby councils. So hopefully we can pick up on the findings of those trials without having to undertake the expense to do them or any of those sorts of things. But hopefully we're in a position where we can learn from what some of our neighbours are doing. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Phil Byrne. Councillor Isa, would you like to speak to the motion? Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mayor. The EV industry is an emerging industry worldwide, and I just look back on when cars and combustion engines were introduced, the market responded to that, and that's when they started getting petrol stations and gas stations. I'm still struggling to see how council are going to be the market response, for charging stations. I think this is more of a market response, but I'm also thinking that council should have a couple of charging stations themselves at high volume venues like like leisure centres or like around Queen's Park or somewhere around there where people will stay for a couple of hours and they can recharge their cars. So I understand the thought of it, and like Councillor Byrne said, it's a the terms of references are very sort of clunky and a bit clumsy, but I'm not too sure how much response council can have in the EV environment for basically, converting to EV cars and EV trucks that we might use, and also have just, start charging stations in certain spots, but not, putting them around throughout the whole municipality. I think that's going to be more of a market response to that kind of supply of recharging in the public dome.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? Councillor Phil Byrne, would you like a right of reply?
Thanks, Mayor. As I opened with, it's not it's quite a specific inquiry as to the electricity supply and tariffs and those sorts of things. It's not an open-ended inquiry about what council or anyone else really reckons about EVs, or it's not a resolution tonight about any of council's program or what we're doing or what you might think of that. And for what it's worth, EVs are still traffic, they're still cars. They still should be a long way behind any active transport, but more and more cars are becoming EV, and that's a trend that should be supported in the limited way that council can support that, because quieter streets, cleaner streets, I think we would all think that that's a good thing. And in terms of letting the market undertake things, that's kind of what's happening, and a lot of people are wanting to charge their EVs for free, from solar from their roof, which is some of the points that are picked up with the off-street charging options there as well. So yeah, it's not, as I said before, it's not a broad open inquiry into what councils are doing in the EV space, but it's quite limited and specific. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Byrne. I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. The next report is item 9.8, Audit and Risk Committee, minutes of 15 September 2025 meeting. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Jones, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, I'm happy to endorse this recommendation as a council law member of the Audit and Risk Committee. I was at the meeting and I think they accurately reflect the discussion that was had in the meeting, so I'm happy to endorse Part A, and I also think that we should acknowledge and thank John Watson for his term as the independent chair of the committee.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Cosgrove, would you like to speak to the item?
Just to also endorse all of it, but Part B, John Watson has been a wonderful chair, and the next chair has big shoes to fill. So yeah, happy to support. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Would any other councillor like to speak on the item? Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm also a part of the Audit and Risk Committee, and this report is always good to read for council reasons, and I always encourage my colleagues to read this report. But it's actually, sorry, let me rephrase this. I think John Watson has been the chair of the Audit Risk Committee for quite a while, and I think as a council we should send him a letter of thank you and congratulations on his new appointment, and thank him for his services to the great city of Moonee Valley.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak to the item? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Councillors, item 10 on the agenda is notices of motion, and we have none listed on tonight's agenda, so we'll move on to item 11, urgent business. Councillors, do we have any urgent business? If not, we will move on to item 12, confidential reports. We have one confidential item listed on the agenda this evening. The motion to close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 66(2) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider the confidential item 12.1 endorsement of election priorities is displayed on the screen. Can I please have a mover and seconder? Moved Councillor Theocharides, seconded Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Theocharides, would you like to speak to the item? Councillor Cosgrove, would you like to speak to the item? Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Mayor. I won't be supporting this motion. I'm mindful of what I can say in regards to that, but I think given the title of this agenda item, I think that's something that should be publicly debated. I'll just leave it there because I can't really go into too much detail. I'd cover much there, but I won't be supporting this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Sypek.
I'd just like to say I concur with my colleague here of everything that he said, and I do agree that this should be in the public interest.
Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Philburn.
Thanks, Mayor. My reading of the upcoming matter is it relates to a previous matter which in a fair part which was confidential, so I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Philburn. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Isa.
I don't think I'm saying anything out of anything that's confidential, in saying that, you know, election campaigns involve election commitments that are generally confidential until they are announced in elections. So I think it's entirely appropriate that the matter at the moment be considered in confidential.
Would any other councillor like to speak on the item? Councillor Samantha Byrne.
I think I will support this in going confidential, but it's based on how the report, I suppose, has been written. I feel like, you know, again, it's really hard because of what you can say, but you can obviously have non-confidential items that we've had tonight, and then have confidential attachments. And I think with election priorities, there is such a want from the community to be hearing what we're debating. But I think we probably can't have the way what's on the agenda. I think we probably have to approve it to be confidential. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Samantha Byrne. Would any other councillor like to speak on the item? Councillor Theocrides, would you like a right of reply? I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Phil Byrne, Councillor Samantha Byrne, Councillor Cosgrove, Councillor Isa, Councillor Theocrides, Councillor Adams. All those against? Councillor John Barnes, Councillor Jones, Councillor Sypek. I declare that motion carried. This is where we say goodnight to those watching the meeting via live stream and to those in the chamber at 8:08 p.m. The next council meeting will be held on Tuesday the 28th of November 2025, but before that the election of the Mayor and Deputy Mayor will be held this Thursday the 30th of October 2025. We look forward to seeing you then. Thank you and good night.